We have a little bit of a different approach in our breeding scheme when it comes to forage and cover crop varieties especially. We look at broad adaptability so that our varieties will perform in pretty much any area where we sell seed. And then of course we back that up with good seed yield so we have consistent production. Our breeding program in North Carolina gets extreme heat and disease pressure, so we're able to cycle our varieties and experimentals through there, and so we get a really good idea of how they'll perform in extreme environments. And then we bring them back to Oregon where we can look at seed yield and make sure that everything's going to work out for the farmer, and then we can get that seed out to market with a reasonable price.
Once we've trialed something at the research farms in Oregon and North Carolina, the next step is to send the cultivars out for trialing at universities. And we like to put them in places where the selection pressure is going to be very extreme so we can see what shakes out and what's worth commercializing. And we focus on trials sites like the University of Kentucky, Guelph University up in Canada where we get some good cold tolerance selection, the University of Florida, and Mississippi State.
In the fall of 2018, Pure Seed participated in a 2-year forage trial at the University of Florida Beef Cattle Research and Education Center in Ona, Florida. This trial was under the direction of Dr. Joel Vendermini, Professor of Agronomy and Forage Specialist with the university. Our 2 entries were Tetra Grande, a tetraploid annual ryegrass, and a 2A blend of 70% Tetra Grande and 30% Dipper. Dipper is our diploid annual ryegrass variety. The trial consisted of our 2 entries, comparing them to Jumbo and Attain, which are both tetraploids, which have been the industry standards for the Southeast region over the years. Results were tabulated in the spring of each of the following years. Our varieties performed equal to or better than the industry standards.
There are so many great forage varieties on the market today, but being on the market and actually being available aren't the same thing. It's hard to see a great performing variety get scrapped after so many years of development because it just won't make enough seed. You have to do it though. We understand how frustrating it is for distributors and end users to commit to a product and then here it isn't available year after year.
So in our forage plots that we have in trial at the research farm, we have our first look at some of the projects we're working on in tall fescue, ryegrass, and orchard grass. We put them into 10 by 10 plots and then we cut them halfway on each side so that we can see differences in heading, and then we can watch differences in regrowth across the different varieties, and then we do progeny testing as well so we can compare them to the commercial standards and see if there's anything that stands out for working towards something better for the future.
When we evaluate a variety for commercial release, we will look for mechanical issues from initial increases to make sure we're always aware of dormancy issues, hard seed counts, any sort of seed irregularity.
This spring we cut our orchard grass plots down the middle so that we could watch differences in heading dates, and it was pretty cool to see Shawnee was heading about 3 to 4 weeks later than Potomac. Elise was about 2 weeks later, and Elsie was about a week later than Potomac. So you could really see the differences in forage quality in terms of heading dates, and then also watch regrowth at the same time.
Pure seed testing in the Pacific Northwest has the perfect breeding location to work on disease resistance in forage grasses. We've been able to improve our varieties for stem rust, crown rust, and stripe rust resistance, and also been able to work on leaf spot, purple eye spot, leaf scald, and a few other diseases. And this has helped to broaden the adaptability of our varieties, especially up in the northern locations. Our ability to select for drought tolerance in the heat and dry summers in Oregon has helped our varieties to also be broadly adapted for the southern regions or areas where they have less rainfall or less irrigation.
Salt screening is something we do a lot on pretty much all of our species. It's a good way to apply stress and shake out material. So we like to really screen things hard, and we'll actually put them into salt baths where we take the salt content all the way up to ocean levels of salinity So then we kill 90+% of them a lot of the times, and then we get really intense selection pressure on the survivors and are able to move them forward and shift the population to what we want.
One of the other things that we've been working on recently is cover crops, because as we move forward and the world's changing and we're starting to become more conscious about carbon and there's legislation going in places where carbon credits and carbon taxes are going to become a thing, we feel like cover crops are going to be a great answer to be a positive thing for agriculture and farmers to use in order to combat some of the negativity that might be coming through in the form of taxes or higher costs of doing your job. Cover crops are something that's going to benefit you and potentially offset some of the negativity that's going to be coming your way as a farmer.
I think we get that not every farm is a test plot. That's the reason we try to make life as unpleasant as possible for anything we have in the pipeline.
I'm standing in our black oat cover crop trial here. We're doing actually PVP measurements on a few varieties that we developed over the last 5 or 6 years. Black oats are used in Europe and South America quite a bit to protect the soil. They also help suppress weeds and can even work as a nematicide to help if you have issues with nematodes.
Black oats are an exciting new species, whether it's a black hulled oat or a black oat in general. What that is basically it's a winter cereal used in place of, instead of a winter triticale or cereal rye. The winter hardiness of it is a concern at this point, and I think as the breeding from Austin and others continues, and that'll improve. For the most part, we've been using these black oats south of the I-70 corridor in the U.S. Great success and not having any issues with winter survivability at all. Benefits of this, it is a very high quality cereal grain, mostly obviously for forage. Very widely, very dense sward, tillers more than most any other cereal crop, which means that the seeding rates actually aren't as high as what you would plant cereal rye or some others. We're getting more biomass both above ground and below the ground with using the black oats over that of cereal rye and even triticale. This is the future. When you see the size of these leaves and the tillering capacity of these and just how lush and high quality that is as a forage and or a cover crop, it's pretty exciting. So I'm really anxious to see where this goes.
Our Teff breeding program is something we're really excited about. It's pretty unique for us and a different species that we haven't worked with in the past. We were able to get collections from the United States Germplasm Repository and a few different collections from South Africa as well. We screened them in Oregon to find something that would be stable, that we could move forward with to evaluate for seed yield and then for different traits like salt tolerance and grain yield and forage yield. And over the past 5 years, we've had a lot of success, and this summer we harvested our first commercial fields, and we should be able to go forward with those two and have commercial availability as soon as the fall of 2021.
So there's been a lot of work done with Teff grass, and rightfully so. Very exciting warm season grass. It does require a soil temperature about 65 degrees and climbing before you establish, so generally a late spring, early summer crop. Very rapid growth, very fine forage, and the desire from the horse people, bovine industry, and so forth is very, very high for this grass. It's one of the growing markets out there. It does require a very firm seed bed and a brilliant type seeder, one that has a packer in front that drops the seed, another packer behind, or if you broadcast it, at least pack everything down real tight, almost where you can bounce a basketball on the ground. You can broadcast this seed down, very low seeding rate. Depending on the coating on this, usually it's going to be in that 4 to 6 pound to the acre range. But then you need to pack that seed in, not disc it in. It cannot be planted very deep. It needs to be basically pressed into the soil, and that seems to be where it works best. Very rapid growth. You can expect your first cutting within 30 days. It's a solid once a month cutting from there until the day lengths get shortened up. There are many benefits of feeding high forage diets, not just agronomically, but also for your feeding cost. You obviously have a lower feeding cost when feeding forage rather than grain, less purchased protein, more balanced diets. It's where you can feed less, soybean meal and other protein sources. You get better nutrient management, which obviously is a hot topic in today's world. Less manure from the cattle. We also get a lot better yields and able to utilize more of the nutrients that are put into the soils. And then also, truthfully, healthier cows, a balanced diet, high in forage, there decreases a lot of the issues that we have with cattle. Acidosis, sore feet, displaced abomasums, twisted stomachs. The average lifespan of a U.S. Holstein is now down about 2.5 to 2.7 lactations. Farms now that are feeding more high forage diets, sometimes those cows that are living 10, 11 years and still high producing cattle. So there's a lot of benefits of not feeding as much starch to the cows, keep the pH of the rumen in check for a healthier rumen. And then with all that, you wind up with obviously higher farm profits. So you get reduced purchased feed bill, reduced veterinary bills. Call rate is down significantly, as I mentioned, and you're able to double and triple crop depending on the type of conditions that we have. So when it comes to actually your consideration for what species to grow, whether it's pasture or hay, what climate we're looking at, if it's a perennial type crop or a fall planted crop, the winter hardiness or drought hardiness, soil types, how it handles drainage, the length of the stands, a short rotation, long rotation, permanent stand, type of harvest, whether you're pasturing it, as I mentioned, could be hay, could be silage, direct chop, could be just a mix depending on the type of the year or how much forage is actually available. What type of forage quality are you looking for? Do you need a top-notch forage for your dairy cows, or is this dry cow feed? Is it for beef or horses as far as that goes? Specific animal forage problems, is there any problems in there? Is there anything we need to look out for when designing these mixes? Disease and insect pest potential. What's your budget? Your seed cost. Is the product easy to establish? So there's many different factors that play with that.
Hi everybody, my name is Javier Calvo, Forrajes Ecoverde owner, located in San Jose, Costa Rica, Central America. For many years, Ecoverde is a pure seed product distributor here in Costa Rica. Our experience with pure seed products are pretty good, excellent. We have many producers really happy with the results. Here in Costa Rica, we need to plant the ryegrasses, tall fescues, Festilolium, and all the other cool season materials over the 1,500 meters or more than 3,000 meters over the sea level. In Costa Rica, like all the world, everybody's looking the way to reduce the cost. And forage is the most excellent way to reduce the cost because you can resolve many problems of the nutrition in your business. That this way, Ecoverde collaborate for many years with the work shoulder by shoulder with the producers, looking the way to reduce the cost using the excellent products that your seed supply to us.
Hello from Costa Rica, specifically from Turrialba volcano, up in the mountains. We're at a little bit over 2,700 meters above sea level. We have been using pure seed products for the past 5 or 6 years, probably more than that. Specifically the ryegrass products. We are very pleased, and we have some very good experiences with it. We work mainly with grazing dairy and some beef over grazing facilities as well. We use very little grain because Costa Rica is not a grain country, so this is the reason why we need to plant our own food, working very, very nicely for us. So we highly recommend Pure Seed. Thank you for the space again, and welcome to Costa Rica anytime. Thank you so much.
Hola, buenas tardes. Aquí estamos en San Rafael de Oriamuno. Estamos viendo un corte que se sembró con dos tipos de ryegrass anuales o de corta. De este sector para acá vemos el mega. De aquí, de este sector a la derecha, tenemos el tetiver. Aquí en esta zona es una zona, digamos, que también ha estado sometida a diferentes inclemencias del tiempo, mucha lluvia, frío, mucho también época seca, con periodos secos muy calientes. Y una de las características que el dueño le gusta del tetiver es que, a pesar de que ser un anual, tiene un comportamiento muy agresivo, una recuperación rápida, buen volumen a la hora de cosecharlo.
Thank you for joining us on our last episode. Hopefully you can see how we've got you covered for all your seed needs, from bent grass to black oats and everything in between. Our passion is to find some new exciting, challenging grasses and species to work with in our breeding program, and then turn those into solutions for our customers down the road in the future. We're very happy to have had you join us. Don't forget to register for our panel discussion on October 27th. We're going to have some really exciting panel guests and wonderful discussion, and we hope that you can join us.